Director of Mental Health, Dr. Manamela, says NGOs must also take the blame for the death of 143 psychiatric patients that died under their care. Testifying on day 4 of her evidence, Manamela conceded that she failed to comply with the licensing requirements by issuing licenses to NGOs that did not qualify to care for patients. She said, however, that NGOs were not forced to take patients. Manamela also conceded that former Health MEC Kadani Matlangu was aware that the 67 deaths that had occurred when she presented to the legislature on August 30th last year, but did not share this information.
I didn't know that they cannot take care of the patient because we didn't force this patient to them.
There were already 67 people that have passed away. And yet, on the 30th of August, no mention is made of any people dying. What do you say to that?
Legislature question at this time here didn't ask about the death. When we answer the legislature question, we answer what they question. But as far for the deliberation between Mr. Bloom and Ms. Matlangu, I can't answer for that. But what I know, we'll answer according to what the legislature wants. And they haven't put the issue of death here. Even if we had some death that we know from May to July, we couldn't have sent them because it was not here.
Yes.
Well, let's go live now to the life Esedimeni proceedings currently taking place in Parktown.
If there are 2 dates, it means one of the dates is in error because it should have been 1 date. So there are 2 dates. One of the dates was made in an erroneous manner. So I will say that and agree that that was an error.
Let me leave you with this thought, Doctor. You don't seem to understand the centrality of licensing by a state entity. From it flows a number of obligations, both constitutional and legal. If you permit somebody to have the power and the entitlement to be paid for looking after mental health care patients, you're making a decision about other people's lives, whose lives may be enhanced or lost. So it's not just about, we're not asking questions about the date and the what and the little error. We want you to appreciate that you were given power by a law. And that law gave you the power to make certain decisions that will affect the lives of mental health care patients. You've exercised that power, and the result is that the patients died. Do you see that connection? It's not how clever you can explain something, just understanding the fundamental issue we're dealing with. You made a decision, you granted a license, 2 people, incompetent to do the job, and somebody else died. What is your response to that?
My response to that, Justice, will be, even if there is a procedural error, the NGO that was assessed, I had the report of the assessed NGO, and if they made a mistake, we still have to terminate and withdraw the license. So the procedural error that I'm not disputing, it doesn't mean that we were saying because the date is 1st of April, then the patient must not be taken care of.
You don't get it.
No, I get it.
You don't gamble and say, I will do it and I might withdraw it. You make sure that you don't send people, living people in need of care, to places where you willy-nilly make procedural errors, or you have not checked properly and you might withdraw it, who don't have a service level agreement, who don't have tax compliance certificates, you saw that list, who don't have a proper board of governors, who must produce their CVs. You saw what the law requires. You didn't observe any of those and it still blows over your head what a big omission it is, because it led to deaths.
Justice, if I say something on that, I didn't dispute the date, but I'm not quite sure of the causes of death at the moment. It might be that the NGO, which was presented to me, were not as qualified as the report was saying, and then I will say in that area it can be the issue. But there are other variables that might have led to the death of the mental health care users, like the illnesses they might be having, comorbidity, for example, the medication, the blood levels, and maybe lack of the staff that left because they were not paid. There can be other many variables that may lead to that. And there was no intention in signing the license that we must just give it or dish it to anyone who said, I want to take care of the patient. That was not part of my idea and those of my team. That's why I had to check the area.
Have the police visited you already?
What?
Have the police visited you?
The
To
police?
seek, yes, members of the South African Police Services. Have they been to visit you to ask for a statement from you?
Not yet, Council.
Do you expect them to come to you?
Anybody who wants to know about this, the process, I'm willing to let them know.
Advocate Quenebal.
Thank you, Justice. Ma'am, I put it to you that you manipulated the licenses to suit your needs, the department's needs. You cancelled the contract. Sorry, respond to that firstly. Thank you.
I'm a professional who observes the rules, and I cannot manipulate anybody while I'm dealing with the people's life. I don't agree with that manipulation.
Ma'am, you've already conceded that you've manipulated the rules. You didn't comply. The NGOs to which you issued licenses did not comply with the standards and the requirements. You conceded that.
I consider that
Yes.
based on the report that I had, I signed the licenses.
No. We haven't seen those reports. We haven't seen those reports. And the long and the short is, the evidence before this arbitration proceedings is clear, beyond reasonable doubt, that those facilities was not fit to accommodate any patient. And that was so at the time that you issued those licenses. No warm water, no toilet seats, no construction, no recreational space. Those are things that were there prior to you issuing the licenses. It's not something that came afterwards. I put it to you, ma'am, that you manipulated the licenses. Do you know Dorothy Franks?
I know Dorothy, but I didn't manipulate anything.
All right. No, we will look at that. Justice, I'm going to refer to the testimony of Mrs. Franks. It's sorry, I'll just provide some page 164, 165 of the transcript.
Yes.
I think it's day 15 or 7, Justice, but I will confirm. Now, ma'am, we heard the evidence of Mrs. Franks. The question was put to Mrs. Franks that whether or not she applied for a license for 150 patients. Her response was as follows. The arbitrator, Justice Mosenek, said, yes, you are putting it on everyone else. I want to know that you gave them the number 150. Mrs. Frank said, they came and checked how many patients. No, but you applied. Did you say how many people you wanted? Mrs. Frank said, no, I didn't say that. Okay, how many did you say you could accommodate in your application? Dorothy Franks. I didn't give them a number. So they wrote the number 150. Yeah. And that was going to be Dr. Manamela, Dorothy Franks. Yes. You manipulated the licensing process, ma'am. And the evidence before this arbitration proceedings is clear to that effect. You manipulated it. Do you want to respond to that?
I think I don't appreciate the way that I'm a manipulator. In the first place, I never knew Dorothy. The district sent the document for me from Dorothy, and when I met Dorothy for the first time,
sorry to call her Mrs. Franks.
Mrs. Franks, the first day I met her, she was already at Kalafong, and I was told by the district and the DD NGO that Dorothy is going to take 150 patients. I'm not a manipulator, and I really feel that if there is a stirring like that between me and the people who are hating, it will cause me a danger and my family in the next coming days, because things need to be coming right. Dorothy's statement is agreed.
No,
is agreed. My statement, Justice, is not agreed.
Now, insist you must call her Mrs. Franks.
I'm sorry,
You
Justice.
don't go running around with
Yes.
first names here, okay? You don't use your first name, and I don't expect you to. Let's accord respect to everybody we're dealing with.
I'm so sorry about that.
Please
Justice.
keep to that, yes.
I was just saying, Council, that everybody who came and testified before me, these proceedings accepted their testimony. And when I give my vision, I'm told that I'm a manipulator. I'm a professional person who function within my professional ability. Apart from that, even my professional ability in terms of management, I always applauded that. I cannot manipulate anybody. And I will ask that through you, Justice, let my vision be given, then you will come back and judge. Because now Dorothy told you that as I tell you what I know, now I'm a manipulator. And it doesn't fare me very well.
Yes, ma'am, I hear what you're telling us, but at the end of the day, the evidence suggests otherwise. The evidence is quite clear. Mrs. Frank testified that you, Dr. Manamela, said, well, 150 beds, you will take 150 beds.
Me.
That's the evidence.
I'm not working in the district.
I'm asking your response. Yes or
No,
no?
I said no.
No, you didn't
No.
say that.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I was told that.
Now, on the same issue, do you know, Dr. Manamela, do you know Mrs. Daphne Ndlovu?
Daphne?
Daphne Ndlovu.
Yes, I know Miss Ndlovu.
You know Ms. Ndlovu. Now, Ms. Ndlovu testified also here at these proceedings. And in respect of the situation at CCRC, she testified that they went to anchor. They went to anchor. She said, but as a team of CCRC, multidisciplinary team, we went to the facility to check whether the facility will be suitable to admit the patients. With bedding, it was well prepared things, it was good, and with their kitchen, it was also good. But the main important thing that I've seen, that there was not user-friendly for the patients, it was the staff. There was no professionalism. There was no social worker. There was no doctor who assessed the patients on arrival from CCRC. The social worker inspected anchor not your team. You, the director, ma'am. You didn't go and assess Anchor. Would you like to respond to that?
Firstly, I don't know which date they went there.
23rd of June, 2016.
23rd of June, 2016. Secondly, the Miss Franks was working closely with the NGO identifying teams at that time. So the report from Miss Ndlovu didn't reach didn't reach me. But the report from the NGO manager was that Miss Franks has got staff. So I signed the license based on that. And on that date, I believe that's the early date of us placing the last group of patients.
Ma'am, the long and short is Mrs. Ndlovu lying.
Mrs. Ndlovu is not reporting to me. I don't know if he's lying, but what I know is about myself. I am not lying.
Sure. Well, ma'am, the evidence suggests otherwise. But let's move on. Ma'am, in respect of the transfers, I put it to you that you decided where patients should go. What's your response to that?
I didn't decide where patients should go. The conditions of the patient will decide where the patient should go.
Let me take you to LR9. Somebody can assist you there, LR9. You have it, ma'am?
Yes, Council.
It's a Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center. It's a report from the CEO. The subject is Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center report around transferring of patients from Life Esidimeni. I would like you to go to, let's start off at pages 6. Well, if you just go to, this is a breakdown at page 4. Let's start there. The following is a list at page 4. You will see the following is a list of admitted patients from Life according to dates of admission. And they set out the dates. Patients admitted from Life Esidimeni, Randfontein in May 2016. So they put there, then if you go to page 5, you will see there's a list, and then it says 10th of May, and they give a breakdown of the patients that they received and how they received it, and who went to collect the patients. And then we get to page 6. Just before the table there, the last sentence. The eight highlighted mental health care users in the list above were subsequently discharged to Anchor NGO on the 23rd of June 2016 as instructed by Dr. Manamela. We go on, page 7. The 9th.
I want let the witness respond to that.
Thank you, Justice.
I'm sure there are other references,
Yes.
but it's easier reference by reference.
You gave the instruction that those 8 patients should be discharged to Anchor.
I didn't give instruction per se, but when the NGO identifying team was saying we don't have space anymore in Cullinan, but we've got space in Anchor, we are going to take the patient in Anchor, I had no objection on that. It was not instruction.
Ma'am, we will get to the specific evidence, but let's just deal with what you just said. From what I heard of your testimony is 2 things. One is that you clearly didn't plan properly because there arrived more patients at CCRC that could be admitted. Is that correct?
We planned properly for
Ma'am,
CCRC.
you just testified that there arrived too many patients, they couldn't be admitted at CCRC, and then you said they must go to Anchor.
Yes, can I qualify that?
So you didn't plan properly, ma'am, because the patients that were supposed to go to CCRC, there weren't any place for them.
Can I qualify that? I said yes, but can I qualify for that? Because,
Fine, ma'am.
okay. Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center was planned to accommodate 100 patients. So when they cannot, when the CEO gave the patient to 73 to Anchor, there was still space. So now, instead of the patient who were in Cullinan to move fully all of them to Siabadinga, there was no space. Because Siabadinga said they cannot manage more than that. But there was space for Anchor. That's why my team, led by the NGO identified team, asked that, can we take them to Anchor? And I said, I don't have any objection for that. So it doesn't mean that we didn't plan.
Ma'am, the evidence is quite clear. The 8 patients were transferred on the instructions of Dr. Manamela. Do you admit or deny that?
I deny the word instruction.
You deny that you gave that instruction. The drafters of this document, are they lying?
I don't agree with their saying that I have instructed them.
All right, let's move on. Page 7. The 9 highlighted mental health care users in the list above were subsequently discharged to Anchor NGO on the 23rd, as instructed by Dr. Manamela. Once again, a further 9 patients were discharged on your instructions. Your response to that?
It's still the same. My response is still the same.
Okay.
I did instruct.
Okay, then page 9.
Do you know who instructed that the patients be discharged from CRC and taken to an NGO where they died? Who gave that instruction?
Justice, I was phoned to say we have got the patient who cannot be accommodated in Cullinan, but we have got space in Anchor. We are planning to take them there, and I agreed, but I didn't instruct that you must do it.
Why did they phone you?
Because they had some challenges. That at that time, I didn't want to touch that now. At that time, when it was planned, the CEO was not supportive anymore because of the department issue with
Did they just
Anchor.
want your opinion? I mean, you many words.
No,
I'm just asking you, why did they phone you?
Because the NGO identifying manager, Ms. Jacobus, is reporting to me. Daphne has never phoned me. Because she was and she
You
is
just
still
told
not.
us they phoned you. I'm
Yeah,
saying,
but
why
that
did they
is
phone you?
no. I didn't receive any call from Daphne. I received all the calls from Ms. Jacobus. Daphne was reporting to Cullinan CEO, and CEO, if there are problem, CEO of Cullinan will call me, not Daphne. I didn't receive any call from Daphne. I received calls from the NGO manager from my office.
Are you okay, doctor? Are you okay?
Why do you ask?
No. You've just told me now that you did not instruct, you were called So I want to know, why were you phoned?
Yes.
And then I get this barrage of words. Why? You didn't instruct this document, which we've been through this. We've had full evidence of this document.
I did justice. I didn't instruct Daphne. That's why I'm qualifying it. I didn't instruct anybody. But my NGO manager, like I said the first day, let me give you the process. NGO manager called me and informed me of this. And then when she called, and she already had a plan, and I said, it's okay. I didn't become against the plan, but definitely didn't call me. The CEO didn't call me. The NGO manager, Ms. Jacobs, is the one who called me. She was there, who was overseeing placement from Enka and Kalinen on that day.
You talked about calling. Nobody did. You started this calling stuff.
Yes.
I asked you, why did they call you? What were they looking for?
So that I can know the change of plan.
Were they looking for, could you have said no?
Yeah.
You have the power to say no.
No, I couldn't just say no, but I'll find out the reason, and if I didn't agree with the reason, I'll say, what can we do? So, but when they called me, I didn't have problems. That's why they placed the patients there. But it's not Daphne who called me, it's the NGO manager in my office.
You know what I'm talking to you about? These patients were discharged from Kalinen. You know that. They lost their beds in CCRC, and the managers say at your instructions. This is what it is about. And there were consequences for them losing their beds, CCRC. The consequence is that they died. That's what this report is about. Did you instruct that the patients be discharged?
No, Justice.
The patients referred to on page 7 of 25. No. Who gave that instruction, if not you?
I didn't give that instruction, and I didn't see the patient, but I was phoned by my DD manager that there are patients that we can still place in Enka, and I didn't have a problem with that.
Is Miss Jacobus who told you that?
Yes, she told me that.
Is she the one who gave the instruction?
I won't say she gave instruction, but she's the one who told me that, and I had no problems with that.
And you could have stopped that if you wanted to.
If from what she said, because it's a long time I
have the power to stop it? The discharge of those patients to an NGO where they ultimately died. Did you have the power to stop it?
I didn't have, I'm not quite sure, Justice, whether I will say I had the power or I don't have the power, because the discharge process was done according to the termination. So I won't say I had the power to stop it. But what I can qualify and explain to these proceedings is that the 100 beds which was planned for CCRC were not yet full. That's why only those patients from CCRC were accommodated there.
Counsel, the witness is yours.
Thank you, Justice. Then I'm going to pause a bit at this whole transfer issue because it's quite important, and we've heard evidence of the impact that the transfer had on a number of patients, and the fact that the chaotic state of the transfers might have even led to their death. But it was put to Mrs. Ndlovu in these proceedings when she testified on the transfer of the patients from CCRC to Siabadinga and Anchor. Justice Moseneke asked her, is that a normal procedure for discharging patients, that they must go away to make room for other patients? Mrs. Ndlovu testified, I can say it's not the normal way of discharging a patient, because if a patient is discharged from the institution it means the patient can adjust where he is going. So just because it was like forcefully to create a space for the patients. Question is again put to the witness. Was it desirable from your experience as a social worker in a mental health care facility, was it desirable to forcefully transfer patients in order to make space for those coming from Life Esidimeni? She later on replied, it is not, Judge. It was not the correct way of discharging patients, Judge. That one I can acknowledge. What is your response to her testimony?
My response will be the forcefulness. I don't know about that. But I can take you through the process of Cullinan. Because Cullinan, even before the termination, they already planned that they have got patient who has no families and some patient whose family are unable to take care of them, and they've got the building. They feel that they will have to renovate the building and they let the NGO manage the building. I'm trying to explain to you why I say no for forceful, but it was planned by Cullinan. Fortunate or unfortunately, when the termination came, we then said the hospital that you identified, the wards, will be renovated by the hospital. And then the patient that you already have will be going there, not forcefully. The CEO was the one who was coming to our meeting, not Daphne. It was never mentioned forcefully to go there. That's why when the CEO of Siabadinga said, I can't take 100, nobody forced her to take 100. So the forceful word never came to my mouth or from my directorate and even the NGO manager. No one was forced.
We will go through the evidence, ma'am. And I submit that the evidence, unfortunately, shows differently. Apologies. Do you know Mrs. Diane Noyile?
Yes, Council.
Do she?
She was reported to me as the CEO of Siabadinga NGO.
Ms. Noyile testified at these proceedings as follows. The three from Life Esidimeni came on the 1st of July and they were brought in by Dr. Manamela and Matilda Malaza. Then there's a debate as to who is Matilda Malaza, and it's clarified. And it's asked, did they tell you why they bring these patients to you? Mrs. Noyile testified, Justice, it was late afternoon. There was a bus full of people in our yard, and they did not know where to take the patients. They just said, can you please take these patients because we don't know where to take them.
Sure.
Dr. Manamela was making some phone calls. I'm not sure who she was calling. They did not have IDs. They did not have identifications. We did not know their names or their age. They had nothing. It was just what they were wearing at that time. It was 3 male patients. Then she goes further. Did you choose which patients you wanted? I did not choose. As I said before, Justice, these patients, they did not know where to put them because all of the others were allocated at Anchor and these 3 were idling. So they asked me to take these patients. I did not just take them. We had a problem of space. So I said we did not have space for them. Where are we going to put them? What are they going to eat? Because we did not have any money from the mental health department. And Dr. Manamela said she was going to come and fetch them on the following Monday. If I'm not mistaken, it was a Friday that day. So we had to stay with these patients over the weekend, but they were never taken back. Ma'am, you still stand by your testimony that there was no forceful removals or pressure placed on NGOs to accept patients?
There was no pressure, and can I say that everybody who testified before me, all their evidence are taken as correct, like it happened with Ombuds. Everybody who testified against me, their evidence are not tested. They are not here for me to ask them questions. It happened. History just repeats itself in this country. But I must explain to you, Justice, Counsel, through the Justice, what happened with this patient.
Let's go quiet, please. Let's
I will start from the beginning. When you say they were never been taken back, because Miss Noile at that time, she occupied the ward illegally.
Ma'am, I'm going to interrupt you.
Can I tell you
because I
not
want you to
taken back?
start from the correct point. The correct point is you forced 3 patients on Mrs. Diane Noile. Let's start off there.
I didn't force the 3 patients.
You didn't force the 3 patients.
We didn't force. We just asked that can you accommodate the 3 patients, because there were 5 patients who went on leave of absence. That's why the motion at the end say we'll have to fetch them on Monday, because there were 5 patients who were on leave of absence. She had beds, but those beds cannot be permanently used. We didn't know when the patient would be coming back.
So, Ms. Noile was lying. Was that your testimony?
Is there an answer to the proposition?
I didn't force Miss Noile to take the patient.
Okay. Ma'am, that's now the 3rd witness that was lying to these proceedings, and you're the only one that's telling the truth.
I didn't force anybody to cancel. I didn't force anybody. From the beginning, the NGO will take the patient according to their ability. I didn't force anybody. I didn't. Even if when we planned 100 beds, Miss Noile said, I can't take 100 patients. We didn't force her.
Yes, and then you brought in Anchor. That's what you did. You don't want to take extra patients? We're gonna force you into 2 wards. And we're gonna put 50 patients in a ward that's only supposed to take 25 patients. That's the evidence. And you did it, ma'am. So was Ms. Noile also lying about that?
Counsel, the ward that were planned for 100 beds. If you look at our plan, we'll see.
How many patients in a ward? 25.
25, but
yes.
There was extra space.
All right. So they had 75 patients,
yes.
And you moved them. They had 4 wards, and you moved 75 patients into 2 wards.
Can I?
Yes or no?
I didn't move 75 patients to do what, but I can tell you
yes
the number of patients. We moved patients to the 2 wards, but we cannot say at the moment it was 75 patients in the 2 wards, because I want to inform this court, if it's court, that at that time when it was there was a nursing station which can take plus minus 6 patients, and the renovation had extra space. If you go to Kalinen, you can count the beds that were there.
Ma'am, you're giving all these clever answers, but at the end of the day, you're saying nothing. My question is simple. Siabadinga had 75 patients. You came and you said to them, from now on, you're only going to have 2 wards. You confirm that a ward can take 25 patients. So, 75 patients moved into 2 wards. The evidence was that in 1 ward there was 50 patients. And you actually went and you physically moved the patients yourself.
Council, I don't know why I'm really here, because you said I said nothing. So whatever I'm saying is nothing. I am qualifying why, because I'm telling you I know the ward and the CEO was there. There is a ward that was used as a nursing station in each and every ward that can accommodate plus minus 6 wards, 6 beds. So those are the reasons that you saw us to say we can still push, we can still place, not push, some patient in the ward. But those are the things that you don't want to hear. I said nothing.
Ma'am, because what are you telling us? Are you denying that there was over 50 patients in a ward?
I am denying that.
You are denying. Now I'm going to
because I'm telling you the structure of the ward, which you don't want to take. I'm trying to explain.
I want you to know
the structure
that
of the ward.
perjury is a criminal offense. I want you to know that.
I know that.
And I want you to know that everything you testify here can be used against you in criminal proceedings.
That is why I wanted to have all the record, because I know that it can be used against me. But if I'm asking, I'm explaining to you, Council, the NGO, yes, you know, that's the thing. Then I must I must just keep quiet, because I'm explaining nothing.
Hello. This is an arbitration tribunal, okay? That is formal.